Hi, everyone, and welcome to English for You. I'm Erin.
And I'm Tiffany.
So, Tiffany, today we're talking all about a certain style of music. We're going to be talking about hip-hop, but I want to know what your favorite style of music is.
Actually, I like all kinds of music. I like hip-hop, I like electronic, I like jazz. I think it really depends on how I feel that day or how I've been feeling.
I understand.
What about you?
That's about the same for me. There are certain styles of music I don't really listen to. I don't listen to a lot of pop, and I don't really like country music, but I like everything else.
Yeah, same here. I like music that's a little bit more upbeat. I don't like a lot of many sad songs.
Makes you want to dance and get up and move your feet. That's a good way to think about it. I guess it also depends on the weather. If it's a rainy day, I like listening to sadder music. And if it's sunny, I want to get up and dance.
Right.
All right. Well, we're going to talk all about hip-hop today, and we'll learn more about what that is and the style of music it is, and some of the people involved in hip-hop in our article. So why don't we get started on that now?
Reading. The history of hip-hop. Hip-hop is one of the world's most popular music styles. It features an MC rapping words to a beat played by a DJ. Hip-hop was created in the late 1970s on the streets of New York City. A DJ named Kool Herc started saying rhymes over his music at parties. People thought it sounded great, so they started doing it too. The first style is known as old school hip-hop. It was simpler than today's hip-hop. Most MCs spoke slowly and talked about having fun. On the other hand, some artists, including Grandmaster Flash, talked about subjects such as racism and poverty in the community. In the mid-1980s, MCs started to rhyme faster and express more complex ideas. By the 1990s, hip-hop lyrics had become more violent. A big argument started between rappers from the East and West Coasts in the U.S. Two of the most talented rappers, Tupac and Notorious B.I.G., were both shot as a result of this beef.
Today's article begins by saying, hip-hop is one of the world's most popular music styles. Now, let's talk about this noun style, which is spelled S-T-Y-L-E, style. Here, style talks about a particular way of doing something, especially by a particular person during a particular time period. Now, we're talking about musical styles here, so hip-hop is a particular way of making music. And the people who make this music would be hip-hop artists or hip-hop musicians. Now, we'll learn more about the period of time that hip-hop takes place in a bit later. In an example sentence, we could use style like this. I like the impressionist style of painting the most. What about you?
All right, so let's continue reading. The article says, it features an MC rapping words to a beat played by a DJ. So yes, if many of you have heard hip-hop before, there's always a beat playing in the back and then someone speaking really fast. Now, it first started as an MC talking with a DJ. Now, an MC is short for Master of Ceremonies. And originally, this person's job is to host an event or a ceremony like a graduation. And later, the MCs became a part of music. And this is where the DJs play its song and the MCs try to make the crowd happy and they try to get everyone, in the mood to dance and very excited.
That's right. Now, we also saw that in the sentence, it said the MCs are rapping the words. Now, rap here, used this way, is a verb. And when you rap the words of a song, you say the words of the song. It's different than singing. Because in singing, you're not really stopping, your voice sounds like this, and it keeps going like that. But rapping is more like speaking. It's more of saying the words in a spoken way. Now, rap can also be a noun. As a noun, it is a song, like a rap song. or the words of the rap song?
Rapping is actually quite difficult.
I'm not good at it at all.
I'm not good at this at all as well. You got to speak quite fast.
Right.
Okay, so we also see that an MC rapped words to a beat played by a DJ. We always hear this word DJ. DJ, what does it stand for? Well, it's short for disc jockey, and this is a person who plays music on the radio or at a music event, a music venue, like maybe a nightclub. And before hip-hop music became what it is now, it was originally and very simply just an MC talking along with the DJ playing music.
Right. We'll hear an example about this kind of DJ in just a little bit, actually. Or DJ and MC, I guess. Now, we're going to learn a bit more about the time period this musical style was and is popular. The article tells us hip-hop was created in the late 1970s on the streets of New York City.
And then a DJ named Kool Herc started saying rhymes over his music at parties. So we will learn that Kool Herc is just an important person in hip-hop, and people say that he's one of the first DJs to make hip-hop popular in New York City. And we see here rhyme, saying rhymes over his music at party. Now, a rhyme is to make the end sound of words or phrases sound the same. So, for example, cat rhymes with hat, or tree rhymes with free.
Right. Now, you probably won't see cat and hat too much in hip-hop rhymes, but that's the idea. You get the idea. He's using words that rhyme to make these songs. Now, like all cool new ideas, this started to catch on. Hip-hop started to become popular. The article tells us people thought it sounded great, so they started doing it too. And that's how things get started. That's how new styles come about.
That's right. And as the article says, it says the first style is known as old school hip-hop. So hip-hop, it's going to be divided into different kinds of styles as well. The first is old school hip-hop. And this happened around in the early days, around 1979 to 1983, around that time.
Right.
So we will see artists like Grandmaster Flash, who we'll learn about later, the Sugar Hill Gang, and Africa Bambaataa.
You know what's interesting is some of these old school hip-hop artists have actually been to Taiwan in the past few years. So I've seen Grandmaster Flash here, and I've also seen Africa Bambaataa here.
Yeah.
Which is great. Now here, the article tells us a little bit more about old school hip-hop. It says it was simpler than today's hip-hop. That means it wasn't as complicated. It didn't have as many fast beats. It wasn't, the rhyming wasn't as fast, that kind of thing.
No auto-tune?
Right.
All right, so the article says most MCs spoke slowly and talked about having fun.
Ooh, sounds fun.
Yeah.
But like the article says, that was most of the MCs. The article also tells us about the MCs who rapped about other subjects. Here it says, on the other hand, some artists, including Grandmaster Flash, talked about subjects such as racism and poverty in the community. Now let's start talking about this sentence by going over the phrase, on the other hand. When you use this phrase, you're using it to show that you want to give a different opinion or fact than something that you've mentioned before. It's often used with the phrase, on one hand before it. Here's an example using the full phrase together. On one hand, buying a new scooter would help me get around a lot faster. On the other hand, I don't really have the money to buy one right now.
Okay, and then we talked about Grandmaster Flash. Now, who is this person? He's basically someone who helped create hip-hop and one of the first DJs to actually cut and mix different music together. So sometimes you hear this scratch sound here. That is actually something Grandmaster Flash kind of discovered.
Interesting. I learned something new here today. Okay, so some of these subjects that MCs, including Grandmaster Flash, talked about were very serious, not just about having fun. Now, one of these subjects is racism. Racism is the unfair treatment of people, which can also include violence or physical harm because they belong to a different race or because they have a different skin color. Now, racism can include anything like not giving people a job because they have a different skin color, or calling someone a bad name or something really that makes them feel really bad because of their race, or even hurting another person because of their race.
So Grandmaster Flash talked about important subjects such as racism and poverty. Now, poverty is our vocabulary word and it's spelled P-O-V-E-R-T-Y. Poverty. And it's a noun and it means a state of being poor or having no money. For example, we can say, he was born into poverty, but he worked hard to finish school. Now he is an engineer at Google.
Okay, so racism and poverty, like we said, are very serious things. Now, it's said that racism and poverty happen in the community. Here, we're using the community to talk about society, or the people in society. So this is talking about everyone who lives in American society when hip-hop started in the late 1970s and 1980s, and it still talks about these issues, so up until now as well.
Okay, so let's continue reading. In the article, it says, in the mid-1980s, MCs started to rhyme faster and express more complex ideas. A while ago, we learned rhyme as the noun form. We can also use rhyme as a verb, and it means to have the word end with the same sounds. Okay, so for example, we learned the noun way. We said he couldn't think of a rhyme for orange, but you can use it as a verb, and we can say, please find the two lines that rhyme.
Okay, so the rapping didn't just get faster, though. The rhymes didn't just get faster. It also got more complex. Now, complex is an adjective, and it's spelled C-O-M-P-L-E-X, complex. Complex means that something includes many different parts, and it can be difficult to understand or follow because there are so many different parts. So the rappers were talking about more complex ideas. These would include the ideas of racism and poverty and many more also complex or difficult ideas to talk about. In a sentence, we could use complex like this. This task is quite complex, so listen to the instructions carefully.
All right, so let's continue reading. It says, by the 1990s, hip-hop lyrics had become more violent.
Okay.
Uh-oh. All right, so violent here is a vocabulary word, and it's spelled V-I-O-L-E-N-T, violent. It's an adjective, and it means using physical force, like fighting, to cause harm or damage to someone or something. So if you've ever played Street Fighter, it's actually kind of a violent game because you use different characters to fight each other.
Right.
But we can also use it in a sentence like this. The war in the country became even more violent, so many people had to leave their homes.
Right. We're going to talk about this word a lot as a noun, as in violence. So violence is the actions of violent actions. So it's when violent actions happen. We talk about violence. We'll be talking about that coming up very, very soon. So, in fact, they're not just writing violent lyrics for songs. This violence, what we talked about just now, is happening in real life too. The article tells us a big argument started between rappers from the East and West Coasts in the U.S. Now, in the 1990s, there were two main groups of popular hip-hop artists. Some were from the East Coast of the U.S., New York, like Jay-Z, the Wu-Tang Clan, and Puff Daddy, or Sean Combs. And some were from the West Coast of the U.S., or Los Angeles, like N.W.A. and Snoop Dogg.
I remember this period of time, actually.
Me too.
Yeah, it was quite scary. So they got into an argument, which is also a vocabulary word. It's spelled A-R-G-U-M-E-N-T. argument. It's a noun and it means the things that you say that are for or against an idea or something. So it's like a fight, but instead you're using words to fight. We always get into arguments with your parents. For example, your mom or dad says you're lazy. Then you say something back to tell them that you're not lazy, and then you guys have an argument. We can also say, the lawyer gave strong arguments and won the case.
That's right. So this argument or fight happened between the two different groups. Like we said earlier, the violence they were rapping about in their songs was happening in real life. Now here the article tells us what happened. Two of the most talented rappers, Tupac and Notorious B.I.G., were both shot as a result of this beef. Now let's talk about the adjective talented, which is describing the word rapper. Talented is spelled T-A-L-E-N-T-E-D, talented. It describes someone who has a natural ability to do something well. I can say that I am not talented at rapping because I can't rap well. However, I am very talented at keeping people organized. As another example, we could say, have you heard Megan play the flute? She's very talented. That means Megan can play the flute well.
I have, and she is super talented.
Okay, well, here it also gives us an example of two talented rappers. Tupac was a West Coast rapper, and Notorious B.I.G. was an East Coast rapper. They were both very popular in the 1990s.
Right, so these two artists kind of argued with each other. They had an argument, and as a result, this phrase, as a result, means because of something, this happened. So because of this West Coast versus East Coast argument, as a result, okay, this happened. Tupac and Notorious B.I.G. unfortunately were shot.
Now, that's not great. They both died as a result of their bullet wounds from when they were shot. But there's one last word in that sentence we need to learn about, and that's the word beef. It says they were both shot as a result of this beef. Now, we're not talking about the meat here. Beef is actually today's shortcut for you, and we're going to finish up day one of our article by listening to our friends tell us what it means. Stay tuned after that for our For You chat.
Shortcut for you.
Hey, why are you jumping around like that?
I heard Stacy has a beef with me, and I'm ready to fight about it.
Okay, whoa, hold on. You're fighting about a food item?
This isn't about me, okay? To have a beef with someone means to have a problem with them.
Okay, so in this case, beef means 争论, 争吵.
That's right, girl. You know what? I should see her soon.
Don't you think this is going a little too far? What exactly is the problem?
Oh my God. Are you sticking up for her? Do you want to fight now too? Is that it?
I am not trying to have a beef with you. I'm just trying to figure out what the problem is.
Oh, here she comes. Here, hold my purse.
Whoa.
For You chat.
Okay, so our For You chat question for today is, do you enjoy listening to hip-hop? Why or why not?
I do actually enjoy listening to hip-hop. I like old school hip-hop more than I really like the newer hip-hop these days. Now, for me, old school hip-hop is not just from way back in the 1970s and 80s. It also includes the 1990s because I'm a bit older than a lot of our listeners. I listened to hip-hop a lot in the 1990s, so I'm very familiar with Tupac and Notorious B.I.G. or Biggie, as he was sometimes called. So that's when I started listening to a lot more hip-hop music, is when they were popular. And so I was already aware of these arguments and these kind of things. I do listen to hip-hop now. I don't listen to a lot of the auto-tune hip-hop.
Yeah.
I do like when the hip-hop artists are actually rapping and less when they're singing to the auto-tune.
Yeah, I actually enjoy the same thing as you. I really enjoy old school hip-hop. The newer hip-hop artists, I don't listen to as much, but I do like Kendrick Lamar a lot.
I do. I have been listening to his new album quite a bit. I've also been listening to a newer hip-hop artist called Run the Jewels, who have actually been around for quite a long time.
They're pretty cool.
Right, but they're becoming more and more popular now. So what about you guys? Do you guys enjoy hip-hop? You probably do. It's quite popular and it's not going anywhere. It's going to stay around for a while. Talk about it with your friends and your classmates. Say why you like it or why you don't. But for today, that's all the time we have time for. So for English for You, I'm Erin.
I'm Tiffany.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
The history of hip-hop. Hip-hop is one of the world's most popular music styles. It features an MC rapping words to a beat played by a DJ. Hip-hop was created in the late 1970s on the streets of New York City. A DJ named Kool Herc started saying rhymes over his music at parties. People thought it sounded great, so they started doing it too. The first style is known as old school hip-hop. It was simpler than today's hip-hop. Most MCs spoke slowly and talked about having fun. On the other hand, some artists, including Grandmaster Flash, talked about subjects such as racism and poverty in the community. In the mid-1980s, MCs started to rhyme faster and express more complex ideas. By the 1990s, hip-hop lyrics had become more violent. A big argument started between rappers from the East and West Coasts in the U.S. Two of the most talented rappers, Tupac and Notorious B.I.G., were both shot as a result of this beef.
Vocabulary Review.
Style. Melissa's favorite style of music is jazz, and she listens to it every day. Poverty. Jamal grew up in poverty. His family never had enough to eat. Complex. The teacher helped the students solve the complex math problem. Violent. I think this movie is too violent for the kids to watch. Argument. I just heard the boys fighting. Do you know what their argument is about? Talented. Phoebe is a talented actress, and she can easily communicate her emotions.